Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Podcasting Podcast, where passion, purpose, and podcast strategy come together to help you amplify your voice without the burnout. And I'm Demetria Zinga, founder of the Soul Podcasting Collective, where my team and I help podcasters to edit their shows. And also I coach solopreneurs, creatives, and coaches who want to grow their podcasts with clarity and confidence. And if you want to reach me, just go to soulpodcasting.com. And on the right side of the screen, you'll see a pink tab. That's where you can leave me a voice note and I just might feature it on the show. All right, so today we're talking about monetization, specifically how to turn your podcast into income. And just so we're clear, this isn't wishful thinking because earning money from your podcast is a process and it takes creating a system, showing up consistently, and being intentional with your offers. I'll share the ways that you can monetize your show right now. And in a future episode, I'd like to break down exactly how that system works, at least for me, so you can plug in and start seeing some results. So the first way you can start earning money is to create and sell your own offer. I believe this is hands down the most powerful way to monetize your podcast. It's to create your own offer. Your podcast is your marketing engine, and every episode is a chance to showcase your expertise and gently guide your listeners toward working with you. So some examples of that would be to develop courses or workshops where you teach what you talk about. For example, my upcoming course, and I'll be talking about that within the next week or two. You could offer coaching or consulting. You want to share your expertise in episodes and invite listeners to work with you. I do this all the time. You guys are always hearing me say that I offer coaching. You can grab a coffee chat with me and let's see how we work together. And I coach you on your podcasting endeavors. I help you with whether that's interviews or auditing a show, listening, giving you feedback, coaching you on how to get your tech set up, or even coaching you on planning out your episode ideas, your topics, or going back to the very beginning stages of creating a podcast. I also help with mindset. And so these are things that I do, and I share that with you guys on this show. So as you're developing your business and creating your organizational strategies and the things that you want to share with your audience, then I highly encourage you to start talking about that on your podcast so that you can begin to package up your products and services and sell them on your podcast, whether that's done for you services or speaking engagements. For your done-for-you services, you want to build episodes around the problems that you solve for your clients. So really think about, how do I want my clients to be helped by me? How can I help them? And then create those episodes that allow you to help your clients through your podcast. And it brings them back to your actual offers, right? So you're not giving them the one-on-one they need through the podcast, but you're able to share a little bit, maybe a bite-sized answer or two that can help alleviate some of the pressure they're having at the moment. And then if they need additional support, of course, they'll reach out to you. And so that's kind of the idea of selling your services on your podcast. As far as speaking engagements, you can establish credibility by having your own podcast, and then you can get booked for talks later on. You could start with guest podcasting or guest co-hosting. Being on someone's show will help to establish that credibility. So one thing to remember is that every episode you create should point listeners toward that next step. It's something like, if this resonated, then I dive deeper into this in my X program, whatever that is. And it could be a program that you're offering. It also could just be a simple lead magnet that you want your listener to download to start to kind of whet the appetite a bit about what you're offering. So it's a win-win situation. You gain their information so that you can begin communicating with them via your emails, but they're also getting a taste of what working with you is like. All right, the second thing that I want to recommend is that you talk about your membership if you have one, or community access. And I want you to think about turning your listeners into a tribe. I share more about turning your listeners into a tribe on episode 6. So you can go way back in the archives to, I believe it was January 2023, where I talked about building a tribe for your podcast. But the idea is that you want to think about the people that you're trying to reach and see them as your community and not just random people, right? These are the people that have connected to you and are drawn to your message. So if you have created a membership site, then this is a perfect platform. Your podcast is perfect for selling that membership. Whether it's $9 a month to $49 a month or more, this is a great way to expose your listeners who may be potential community members to what you offer. So you can include in your membership your Q&As, some exclusive content, live calls, and of course some courses if you want to add a little something extra, and that will give them access to you. You might also consider having a private podcast feed with bonus episodes, bonus teachings and reflections. That's another way to form community. And you can create those community circles also on platforms like Mighty Networks or Patreon or Circle. I don't have any particular experience with any of them specifically, but I know a lot of people who are using Circle or Mighty Networks. So focus on access and depth, not just extra content, because people pay for connection, right? They don't just need the courses and the content. They want to connect with you. And that's why they're getting into a membership. That's why they're buying into that membership. And so if you can sell that membership, one of the best ways to do that is through your podcast. All right. Number 3 is workshops, live events, or retreats. And these are all kind of similar to the membership idea, except they're kind of this one-time deal, right? You have an event or a workshop one time. Circling back to the idea of the membership, you can even place some of the recordings for those workshops and live events within your membership. But again, you can create these mini workshops around your show's topics. You can host a live podcast episode with Q&As. You can do this on YouTube even, run a live YouTube event or a live Instagram event. You can run a virtual retreat or annual summit. I know a few people which I have been attending their summits annually, and it has significantly grown their podcasts. So these are some ideas for not only growing your podcast, but growing a community around what you do. One smart move for the workshops is to record parts of these events and then repurpose clips back into your show. So if you're having a live event or a workshop or a retreat, of course, people paid for these events. And so maybe you don't want to publish this on your podcast in its entirety, but you can chop them up and repurpose those clips, put them back into your show in some way. So it's content for your episodes, but it's also promotion all in one. Number 4, affiliate partnerships. And this is only if your values align with those organizations that you're partnering with. This is not the same as ads because you're actually recommending solutions that you use and that you love. So this could be anything from journaling apps, course platforms you like to use, microphone brands that you trust. I talk about that a lot on this show. And you want to make sure that you integrate these affiliate partnerships naturally into your episodes. You want to tell stories and not just create a sales pitch. Keep it authentic. This is something that you've used, and never push products that you don't believe in. Okay. Affiliate revenue can be a nice secondary stream while keeping your show true to your values. So be very careful with your partnerships. Again, make sure that they are values aligned and that it integrates authentically and naturally into your podcast. Number 5, books, journals, and products. If your podcast has a philosophy or a clear message, you can make that tangible through creating guided journals based on your themes. You can create a book or an ebook, self-published or otherwise. You can create merch like mantras and affirmations and quotes that you place on your merch. So t-shirts, mugs, journals, things like that. So these are things that can go along with what you're doing on your podcast and just make it a thing, make it a brand, and make it something that your audience wants to be a part of. It's almost like a movement, right? Or maybe it is actually a movement for you. This not only brings in revenue, whether it's just a few bucks until eventually you're starting to see more accruing income, but it also builds authority and credibility over time. Number 6, partnerships and collaborations. This is one of the ones that I love the most because instead of traditional ads, you can create aligned collaborations. You can co-brand your episodes or series with other partners who are aligned with your mission. So You can get together with another podcast host who's doing something similar to you, maybe in sort of a parallel industry as yours, but not directly competitive to you. And then you can co-brand some episodes and work together. You can also do some toolkits. Create a toolkit or a resource guide. That's something that I like to do. I do have my Launch Confidently podcasting checklist, but I also have a podcasting toolkit. And these are resources that I provide for you guys. But you can create those guides. You can also create your episodes can be kind of that guide that feature your collaborators that you're partnering with and make that part of your toolkit. Another idea is sponsorship tiers for partners who are impactful, right? They help you to get where you're going and you help them to get where they're going, right? And rather than having just random advertisers, you seek out partners that you can work together. And in doing so, you're providing these tiers of sponsorship. So it could be, $10 a month, $5 a month, depending on what their tier level is, they get to tap into more of what you're offering. And I'm thinking in terms of like Patreon right now and sort of that idea, but rather this is more of aligning yourself with sponsors. So you can ask sponsors to contribute according to how they want to show up on your brand or with your audience. So if they pay a certain amount, they get a little bit more exposure to your audience. They pay a little bit more and then they have even more exposure. And so you kind of get to play with this because this is your business and it's your ideas, and nothing that you do is completely just wrong. Like you need to, of course, research at first to see like what's out there and what industry standards are and what's going on so that you know what the landscape looks like before you get out there and connect. But once you're sure of what you want to offer and how you want to align with other brands and entrepreneurs, then put yourself out there, have a media kit and list the different ways that your potential partners can work with you and what the investment costs are, what that looks like. And again, if we're talking sponsorship, that $0, $5, and $10 tiers probably is not what you're going for. You want to go with a little bit higher rates, maybe much, much higher, so that it's worth it for you and they know that they're investing into something that's worth it for them as well. We want it to be a win-win situation. And so that's just something to think about. For some of my other podcasts, like my homeschool podcast, I have partnered with brands who have paid me quite handsomely to showcase their content and how they're trying to reach the homeschool community. And so I work with them. It was actually not too long ago that I worked with an online marketplace company. It's a platform for digital art and design assets. And they really wanted to connect with homeschool community because they knew that we use fonts and graphics and crafts in the work that we do for our students, that I'm reaching teachers and I'm reaching online teachers as well as home educators. And I was one of the few virtual brands that they reached out to, and we collabed, we partnered, and it was a win-win situation. So I felt that they were in alignment with my goals and my mission, and they felt the same about what I was doing. And so my audience who trusts me to only promote the things that I believe in was more than happy to purchase some of their digital assets from this company. Also, I used to teach online at a company called OutSchool. Some of you have heard of them. And if you have children during the pandemic, you might have been using OutSchool. And so I was teaching there, but there's a way that you can promote your work with them as an affiliate and earn credits and also earn cash based on, how much you're able to promote the platform. And so I created a video promoting OutSchool. And of course, as a result of that, I was able to pay for some of my daughter's classes and also, earn some extra cash. So collaborations and partnerships really do matter. And number 7, remember that your podcast doesn't have to make money directly to be profitable. I want you to think of your podcast as a brand ecosystem. So think bigger than money directly. Think about building your email list through your episodes. Okay, don't ever forget that your email list is the way to communicate with your future customers. Okay. So they are your customers. They are your tribe. They are your people. That's why they joined your list. They want to know what you provide, and they will open up their wallets to buy your products and your services because they believe in you. And not just you. This is not just about you. They believe in your services and your products because they know it will help them. So nurture your future clients and customers through your emails and through your episode, through your show. Grow authority and credibility that leads to paid partnerships, invitations, and speaking gigs. So your show is the engine of trust. All right. Your podcast is what that is for you, and everything else monetizes that trust. Number 8, creating a system. So here's the thing. Earning money with a podcast isn't magic, and it doesn't happen by luck. It requires a system. You're going to need a clear audience and niche. You're going to need to have offers that you provide or ways to monetize your podcast, and consistency and a process for turning those listeners into clients or customers. And right now, I'm just sharing ways to monetize. But in a future episode, I might want to break down how to create a step-by-step system to make it all work together. Either I'll share it here on the podcast, or I'll have an extra bonus somewhere that you can access that. But I like to share my step-by-step system to make that work. So what this means for you, I'm going to give you some takeaways today, and hopefully you can start implementing this into your podcast strategy. Remember that monetization is possible, but it requires intentionality, strategy, and follow through. You're going to start with 1 or 2 of these ideas. Don't do them all at once because that's going to be overwhelming, but start with a few, test them out, and then repeat. So rinse and repeat on just the few that you do. Wait until that works for you. So if you're starting with, a book, right? You're going to share that book over and over again until you've gotten a little feedback. Continue to share that. And then maybe layer in a collaboration. Collab with someone in a parallel niche as yours and see how that works out, right? And just continue to figure out what you want to share, whether you've created a book, whether you've created a course or a membership site, and then how you're going to share that, whether it's through a collab or even socials, which is something I didn't mention on this episode. But again, sharing your episodes is part of the process. And then making sure that you get that into your content for your newsletters as well. Something I also didn't talk about in depth on this episode, which deserves an episode all on its own. But this is just a little taste of what it means to build an entire business system using your podcast. And your podcast can be a huge piece of that puzzle, right? It could be a huge piece of your system, like the center of the wheel, so to speak, right? And so when you're thinking of your podcast that way, and you see that it's only a part of your system, but not the entire system, it helps you to view what you're doing as a business owner a lot differently. As an entrepreneur, you see that you're not just creating episodes for the sake of creating them, that it's part of the ecosystem of your business. Okay. On this podcast, I'm talking to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and I know that I'm also talking to those of you who just enjoy creating podcasts for fun, and you're not necessarily thinking along the lines of business. But I would love for you to have this information in case one day you start thinking along those terms and you want to turn your podcast into something that you can monetize. I'd love for you to know about that. And that's what I'm doing currently. I have always pretty much been podcasting in this way. It's always been a part of a larger system of what I've created for each of my brands. And it's not been ever just a hobby for me. So that's why I come with so much passion when it comes to monetization and branding. I love to share how podcasting can be a part of your entrepreneurial world in a way that makes sense, and you're not feeling like you're wasting your time or that it's just for play or for fun. Because although it is fun and enjoyable, it is also business. I just want you to remember to use your podcast as your marketing engine, a community builder, and a brand amplifier. And remember that every episode should deliver value and gently invite your listeners to go deeper with you. You don't need to feel like you're selling out Don't feel guilty about combining entrepreneurship with your podcast. And also don't feel bad if you're not making a lot of money at first, right? It's not about making the money. It's about establishing your voice and sharing your mission. But monetization helps a lot, right? And it's about giving your listeners more access, more guidance, and more ways to transform what they're learning from you. Okay. All right, my friend, that is a wrap for today. If this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Please do that. Reviews help other people find the show, and it means the world to me. And don't forget, if you want to share your voice or ask a question, leave me a voice note at soulpodcasting.com on the pink tab on the right side of the screen, and I may feature your message in an upcoming episode. And remember, my agency is here to help you edit your show, and I'm here to coach you through growing your podcast with confidence. So thanks for hanging out with me today, and keep showing up, keep sharing your voice, and as always, keep podcasting with soul. Happy podcasting.